They came in costumes. Masks on their faces. But they didn't need them. Because I'd already seen who they really were. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening in the comments. Halloween, October 31st. The air was sharp with falling leaves and fake fog, plastic skeletons on lawns, carved pumpkins grinning like lunatics. The streets buzzed with laughter and sugar highs. But inside my house, it was quiet. I stood by the window, watching my daughter April's SUV pull away from the driveway. Packed to the roof. My grandkids in the back, waving with distracted smiles. They didn't know this would be the last time they'd ever wave at me like that. I'd just handed over the last $15,000. For what April called the final step toward their new 4,000 square foot home in the suburbs. 6 bedrooms. 3 fireplaces. Walk-in closets the size of my first apartment. All while I lived alone in a house I built with my own hands back in '78, eating leftovers and turning off lights to save electricity. They never saw me struggle. Because I never let them. I paid April's college. Helped her husband Troy when his first business tanked. Bought braces, bikes, school uniforms. Covered the down payment on their second home. And now this. They said they'd pay me back. They never did. I did it because I love them. But that wasn't the part that hurt. The part that hurt was what April said as she left. You'll probably be more comfortable not being around the kids so much at the new place. It's quieter. Quieter. That word stayed in my chest like a nail. Not thank you. Not we'll visit. Just quieter. I'd always known she was selfish. Troy too, full of smooth smiles and fast schemes. But I thought naively that the love between me and my grandkids was different. Real. Turns out, they were just tools. Leverage. The only time they visited was when April needed something. The only time they hugged me was when Troy handed me another proposal or urgent idea. This wasn't family. It was extortion in disguise. I spent that night alone. No trick-or-treaters came. Porch light off. Bowl of untouched candy still on the table. Fake cobwebs still in the window. I poured a glass of whiskey and sat in the dark. And I thought. 4 hours. About all the things I'd sacrificed. About what they took. And how easily they erased me when they thought I had nothing left to give. They'd made one mistake, though. They assumed I'd die quietly. That I'd fade into the background like an unpaid debt. They were wrong. That night, I opened the safe. Inside, folders. Records. Contracts. Emails. And a letter from Laura, my oldest granddaughter. The only one who still called just to talk. She didn't know everything. But she knew enough. Enough to start the fire. I began scanning. Saving. Backing up. I had enough financial records to expose years of misuse, loans disguised as gifts, double-dipping real estate filings, shady tax claims under Troy's LLC. But that wasn't all. In the back of the safe, I found something I hadn't looked at in a decade. A document with April's signature. And a secret she thought I'd forgotten. The doorbell rang. Once. Then again. Slow. Deliberate. It was 11:47 p.m. I wasn't expecting anyone. And when I checked the peephole, there was no one there. Just a white envelope on the doormat. With my name on it. Written in my own handwriting. I stared through the peephole for a full minute, but the porch stayed empty. Just the envelope, pale against the wood like a dropped mask. I opened the door slowly, heart ticking like a metronome set too fast. No breeze. No footsteps. No distant giggles of late-night trick-or-treaters. Just silence. I bent down, picked it up. The handwriting chilled me not because it was mine, but because it was perfectly mine. Same slope, same pressure, same old ink smudge at the end of my Y. Impossible. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Typed. You gave them everything. They gave you nothing. Ready to take back what's yours? No name. No threats. Just that. And a small black card tucked behind it. Plain matte, with one embossed word. Laura. My chest tightened. My granddaughter. The only one who still came by without a hidden motive. Who once made me a Father's Day card out of napkins and glue because she'd seen me cry over my wife's empty chair. I rushed to my desk, yanked open the drawer, and pulled out my old flip phone. No recent calls from her. No texts. But something told me this wasn't a coincidence. Laura knew something. And now, someone else knew she knew. I didn't sleep that night. Just sat by the window, staring into the fog that rolled in over the yard like slow breath. I thought about the last time Laura visited. She was 16, sat at the kitchen table while April waited impatiently in the car. Laura looked at me and said, "I don't know what Mom tells you, but I see how they use you." Then she slipped me a flash drive and whispered, "If anything ever happens, this proves what they really are." I tucked it into my safe and never looked at it. Until now. It took 20 minutes to dig up the old laptop that could still read USBs. I plugged it in. At first, just folders. Photos. Documents. Audio. Then I saw it. A video. I clicked. It was recorded on Laura's phone, judging by the shaky angle. She had hidden it behind a curtain, aimed at the living room of April and Troy's house. They were sitting on the couch. April laughed as she held up a check. "He'll give it to us. He always does. All I have to do is say the grandkids miss him." Troy smirked. "We should start planning for the next ask. Maybe an investment fund for college? He's old. He won't check." The video ended there. But it was enough. Enough to expose them. Enough to make them sweat. I started making copies. One to a trusted attorney. One to Laura. And one I uploaded to a cloud server under a name no one would connect to me. By morning, I had a plan. But before I could execute it, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. A young voice. Shaky. "Grandpa, it's me. Laura." Relief washed over me. "Where are you?" I think someone's following me." "What?" "I saw a car outside school. Same one that's been near my bus stop all week. They were parked outside your house last night too." I froze. "Did you send the envelope?" "What envelope?" Then the call dropped. No goodbye. No static. Just silence. And on my front lawn, that same black car. Now idling. With someone sitting inside. Staring right at me. The engine purred like a lazy animal. Windows tinted black, license plate mud-smeared. Whoever was inside wasn't trying to hide, only to intimidate. I stood behind the curtain, breath tight, the phone dead in my hand. Laura hadn't sent the envelope. That meant someone else knew what she had. And now, they were watching me. I moved away from the window and quietly opened the drawer where I kept my late father's service revolver. Still oiled. Still loaded. Still legal. I hadn't held it in years. But tonight, it felt necessary. I walked to the back door and slipped out through the garden gate. My boots were silent in the mulch. Circled around, keeping low through the hedges, until I was close enough to see the car's front bumper. No movement inside. I stepped out. Tapped on the glass. Slowly, the window rolled down. April. Hair pulled back. Eyes glassy. Not makeup redness. Nerves. Dad. She said it like it still meant something. I didn't answer. "You've been busy," she said, voice tight. "Digging. You always park outside people's homes in the middle of the night?" She glanced away. Then back. I saw what Laura recorded. Good. No. It's not good. You're playing with fire. You and Troy set the fire. She leaned forward, hand on the wheel like she was holding back something feral. I told him not to talk that way in front of her. I told him we shouldn't take more. But it got easy. You made it easy. You made me disposable. Her lips trembled. Do you think I wanted this? No, I said. I think you wanted more. And didn't care who paid for it. She flinched. Laura's in danger, I added. April went pale. What are you talking about? She saw that same car at her school. Same one that was outside last night. I wasn't there last night. I narrowed my eyes. Then who was? I don't know, she whispered. But, we're not the only ones who've used your money. My chest tightened. What does that mean? Troy borrowed from people. Dangerous people. He used your name as collateral on things you never saw. He told them you were liquid and willing. Rage boiled beneath my skin. He forged my name? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I stepped back. Go home, I said. I'm ending this. She started the car, but before driving off, she looked at me through the open window. They don't make threats, Dad. They erase people. I watched her tail lights disappear down the street. I had one job now, protect Laura. And expose them all before it was too late. Back inside, I pulled out the flash drive again, this time uploading it to a secure whistleblower site recommended by Lee, an old veteran friend who now worked in digital investigations. Then I called Laura's school. Asked to speak with the counselor. Arranged a private pickup. She'd be safe with me soon. Or so I thought. Just as I shut down the computer, the power in the entire house went out. And in the dark reflection of the window, I saw a figure standing at the edge of my yard. Unmoving. Watching. I didn't blink. Didn't move. The silhouette by the fence stayed frozen, a darker shadow against the moonlit fog. Tall, square-shouldered, no flashlight, no movement, just watching. No good man stands that still. I stepped back from the window, heart steady but fists clenched. The revolver was still on the counter, cold steel now part of my skin. I moved through the house, checking each door locked. Windows latched. Curtains closed. The power outage was no accident. That figure out there? He wanted me blind. Wanted me uncertain. He failed. I lit 2 candles, one in the kitchen, one in the hallway, then headed for the basement. That's where the rail protection was. In 1997, after a home invasion in the neighborhood, I had the place retrofitted with a manual security system. Generator-powered floodlight. Reinforced bolts. And a steel cabinet bolted into concrete, with paper backups of every major document I ever kept. They thought I was a paranoid old man. Now it was paying off. I flipped the emergency breaker. One surge and boom, light exploded across the backyard. The figure was gone. But I didn't relax. That kind of shadow doesn't leave. It relocates. I returned upstairs just in time to hear the front gate creak. Then a knock. Not on the door, on the back window. 3 taps. Slow. Hollow. I approached, gun ready. A face stared back. Pale. Soaked in sweat. Laura. I yanked open the back door, pulled her in, locked it behind her. She was trembling, hoodie pulled tight, hair messy like she'd been running. They followed me, she gasped. I saw someone outside school. Not Mom. Not Troy. Someone else. Did they say anything? No. Just stared. Then I ran. I didn't know where else to go. You did right, I said, guiding her to the couch. You believe me? I always believed you. Tears pooled in her eyes, but she forced a breath. I think they were listening to our calls. That's how they knew I was coming to you. I nodded. We keep everything face-to-face now. No phones. No signals. I made her a cup of tea, then sat across from her. We're going to end this, Laura. Not just your parents. The ones behind them too. She nodded slowly. I still have more, she whispered. Mom kept files. I took pictures. Hidden folders. I think they're tied to those loans Troy made under your name. You have them? In my backpack. I reached down, unzipped the front pocket. USB drive. Notebook. And something else. A burner phone. Still warm. Recently used. Laura, what is this? She looked confused. I didn't pack that. Then the phone buzzed in my hand. Unknown number. A message popped onto the screen. She brought it to you. Just like we said she would. My fingers tightened around the burner phone as the message burned across the screen. She brought it to you. Just like we said she would. I looked at Laura. Her face was pale, confused, scared, but not guilty. Did anyone hand you this? I asked. She shook her head. No. I grabbed my backpack from the locker like always. I didn't check inside. The phone buzzed again. She doesn't know. That's the point. Laura's eyes flicked to the screen. Who is that? I don't know, I said. But they know us. And that meant this wasn't just about money anymore. Someone was orchestrating this, someone who didn't want exposure. Someone who could get inside her backpack, monitor her movements, control our communication without leaving a trace. I powered the phone off and dropped it into the kitchen sink. Let it sink under the water until it hissed and blinked out for good. Then I pulled Laura close. No more school, I said. No more contact with your parents. Not until this is over. Where will we go? Not far. But somewhere they'll never think to look. I went to the safe in the hallway, turned the dial. Inside, behind the tax returns and documents, was a black envelope. Untouched for 10 years. Inside it, a key. A map. And a photo. A younger me, a fishing cabin, and the man who gave me the key before he died, Sean. An old army friend. He'd built that cabin in the hills 30 years ago and told me to use it when the world turns black and family turns blind. He was right. I packed fast. 2 bags. Flashlight. Ammo. The revolver. The flash drive with everything Laura gave me. Her backpack. Hard copies of everything that mattered. We left just before midnight, headlights off until we reached the back road. No one followed. At least not yet. 2 hours later, we pulled off the highway and into a gravel path hidden behind a row of forgotten barns. The cabin stood alone, sagging and cold, but strong. Still had power. Still had heat. Inside, we locked every window, bolted the doors, and collapsed onto the floor in sleeping bags. For the first time in days, I thought we might have bought time. But just before dawn, a car rolled slowly past the tree line. No lights. It didn't stop. Just paused. Then rolled away. I didn't wake Laura. But I didn't sleep again either. That morning, while she boiled instant oatmeal, I plugged her USB into my backup laptop. Folders open like fresh wounds. One labeled Harridan Group. I clicked it. Inside, documents linking Troy to a series of offshore entities. Harridan was one of them. Loan contracts. Agreements. Photos of meetings in unregistered offices. And a scanned signature of mine. Forgery. Big time. The numbers were staggering. Hundreds of thousands moved under my name. Leveraged assets. Faked authorizations. False collateral. And one contract bore something worse. My house. He'd put it up as security. And defaulted. They weren't just after money. They were after everything I owned. Just then, a knock on the cabin door. Soft. Rhythmic. 3 times. Then silence. Laura mouthed, "Don't answer." But taped to the window was a photo of us sleeping, taken from inside the cabin. I didn't open the door. Didn't speak. Just stared at the photo taped to the glass. It showed me and Laura sleeping, her curled beside the cold fireplace, me on the floor with the revolver resting on my chest. It had been taken from inside. From above. There was no angle outside the cabin that could have captured it. Which meant someone had been inside. While we slept. Laura clutched my arm. Her voice trembled. "We locked everything. We checked twice. They didn't break in," I said. "They didn't need to." I scanned the ceiling. Walls. Air vents. Then I saw it. A pinhole camera embedded in the smoke detector. I yanked it down. Inside was a transmitter. Military grade. Compact. Not something you buy at Radio Shack. Whoever was tracking us, this was professional. And they'd planted it before we even arrived. They knew we'd come here. Laura stepped back, tears threatening. "Why us, Grandpa? Why all this for us?" "Because truth makes enemies. And cowards pay people to clean up their mess." I smashed the camera, then pulled out the satellite phone I kept in my emergency gear. Dialed the only number I still trusted, Lee Vance. Veteran. Tech investigator. The one I'd sent early copies of the files to. He answered on the first ring. "Jesus, Gary, I've been trying to find you for days. We were followed. Tracked. They got to my server. Burned half my backups. But I still have the drive copies. Enough to go wide. They're watching this place. Listening. Then it's time to go public," Lee said. "No more slow drip. Full release. Every file. Every name. I'll blast it through 10 platforms in 5 jurisdictions. If they want to cover it up, they'll have to do it in front of the whole world. Do it. You sure?" "Yes." He paused. "Then you'd better disappear, old friend. They won't chase shadows once the flood hits. But they'll bury witnesses." "I'm not running," I said. "You're protecting your granddaughter. That's not running. That's war." I hung up. Laura looked at me. "What now?" "We finish it. We burned the fake contracts. Shredded everything they could trace. Kept only digital backups. No one would find paper here. No one would twist the story. Then we packed." But as I zipped the last bag, Laura gasped. "Grandpa, your name." I turned. She held her phone up to my face. A news article. Breaking story. Headline. "Gary Walker, local benefactor, implicated in international fraud scandal." They'd moved faster than I thought. And just as I opened the door to leave, the woods lit up with headlights. 3 black SUVs. No markings. No sirens. Doors opening. Boots hitting the dirt. The first SUV door opened before I could blink. Black boots hit the gravel. Not police. No badges. No words. Just silence and muscle. 3 men stepped forward. All dressed the same, black jackets, earpieces, heavy gloves. One carried a black duffel. Another held a tablet. The third had his hand near his hip, close to a weapon, maybe. Maybe not. Laura froze behind me. "What do we do?" she whispered. I didn't answer. Because I saw it then, on the side of the nearest SUV. A tiny emblem. Barely visible. Harridan Group. The same name from the flash drive. Private. Unregulated. International. They weren't just corporate cleanup. They were contractors. And when people like Troy got in too deep, they called men like this to erase liabilities. I stepped outside, revolver hidden under my coat, calm in my bones. "Can I help you, gentlemen?" The lead man stepped forward, emotionless. "Mr. Walker. We're here to escort you to a meeting." Funny. I don't recall scheduling one. He didn't blink. "It's not optional." "What if I decline?" He tilted his head. "We're authorized to detain." Laura's voice came from behind me, small, but fierce. "You can't just take him." His eyes slid to her, then back to me. "She's part of this," he said. "She comes too." "No," I said. He opened the tablet. Pressed play. A video began. Me. Holding the revolver. Talking to Laura. From inside the cabin. "You're being recorded from 4 angles right now," he said. "We could spin this a dozen ways: conspiracy, child endangerment, tax evasion, elder instability." "You don't want the truth out," I said. "We don't care about truth. We care about silence." He opened the duffel. Inside, 2 black hoods. Velcro cuffs. "They'll call it a wellness check," he said. "The neighbors will say they heard shouting. You'll be gone before the kettle boils." I looked at Laura. Then back at him. And I smiled. "Okay," I said. He paused. "Okay? I'll come with you." He nodded. His partner stepped forward. But they didn't notice my left hand slipping into my coat. Click. Flashbang. Old army gear. Modified. Homemade. I dropped it. Boom. Light exploded across the gravel, smoke flooding the porch. I grabbed Laura and ran. Back out through the rear, into the trees, through the ravine behind the cabin. Our boots thudded against wet leaves, lungs burning. Behind us, shouting. Branches breaking. "They're splitting up." Laura cried. "One of them's fast, he's close." We ducked behind a fallen log. Footsteps thudded up the hill. Heavy. Getting closer. 10 yards. Then 5. I raised the revolver, waited for the angle. But Laura pointed behind us, eyes wide. Because there, from the opposite side of the woods, a new figure stepped into view. Alone. Hooded. And holding a phone. Displaying a single text message. "If you want to survive, come with me." Now. The hooded figure stood still, phone glowing like a beacon between us. Laura tugged my sleeve. "Grandpa, we don't have time." Footsteps closed in behind. Fast, crashing through underbrush. One of the Harridan men had shaken off the flashbang. I looked at the message again. "If you want to survive, come with me." Now. Then I made a choice. "Go!" I hissed, pushing Laura toward the figure. We bolted across the slope, following him down a narrow path lined with rotting logs and moss. He didn't say a word. Just moved like he knew the woods in his sleep. 30 seconds later, the sound of boots behind us faded. A minute more, and we emerged into a small, tree-covered ravine where an old off-road Jeep was hidden under camo netting. The stranger threw off his hood. It was a kid. No older than 20. Sharp eyes. Nervous energy. A scar on his jaw. "You Gary Walker?" he asked, voice low. I nodded, still holding Laura close. He climbed into the driver's seat and gestured to the back. "Get in. We've got 5 minutes before they realize where you went." We didn't argue. The Jeep roared to life, bumping through mud and pine roots, bouncing us like dice in a tin cup. Branches whipped the windshield, but the kid didn't slow down. After 10 minutes of chaos, he veered onto a hidden dirt road, barely wide enough for the tires. The woods thinned. The terrain changed. Soon, we were underground. Literally. He drove straight into a tunnel carved into a hillside, concrete and steel. Lights flickered on overhead as we passed motion sensors. Laura gasped. I stared. "Where the hell are we?" The Jeep rolled to a stop inside a metal chamber. The kid shut off the engine. "Safe house," he said. "My name's Sean." My jaw tightened. I knew a Sean once. He nodded. "My dad. He told me if the day came, I'd be the one to find you. Said you'd know what to do with the truth." He pulled open a steel cabinet. Inside were 3 hard drives. And a manila envelope. He handed me the envelope first. Inside was a photo. April. Troy. And a man I didn't recognize, sitting in a private office, shaking Troy's hand. The back of the photo was stamped. Harridan HQ, Zurich. Next came the hard drives. "Everything Harridan doesn't want public," Sean said. "Their clients. Their contracts. Proof of payoffs. And this." He handed me a small flash stick. "Contains your original signature. The one they forged. In evidence they altered it." I swallowed hard. "If we release this, you destroy them." Laura leaned into me, whispering, "But what if they destroy us first?" I stared at the hardware in my lap. "This doesn't go online," I said. "Not yet. We find the one person who can bury them from the inside." Sean smiled. "I already have a name." He turned his laptop toward me. And on the screen, a live video feed. Troy. In a dark room. Alone. Tied to a chair. And someone off-screen whispering, "He's ready to talk." I stared at the screen. Troy was slumped in a metal chair, wrists zip-tied, sweat soaking through his expensive shirt. The room around him was bare concrete walls, one dim light overhead, nothing else. He looked like a man who had finally run out of stories. Sean clicked a key and the audio kicked in. A voice, female, cold, steady, spoke from off-screen. "State your name." Troy coughed, then croaked, "Troy Henderson." "State your relationship to Gary Walker." He hesitated. "He's my father-in-law." "Did you use his name in unauthorized loan contracts?" No answer. "Then." "Yes." Laura gasped. I felt it in my chest too. Hearing it, out loud, after years of suspicion, it wasn't relief. It was fuel. "Did you forge his signature on any document connected to the Harridan Group?" Another long pause. "Yes." "Did April know?" His head fell forward. Whispered. "Yes." I exhaled through my teeth. Sean clicked pause. "That's just the start," he said. "We've got more." Wire transfers. Audio from April bragging to a contractor that Dad never checks the paperwork. Surveillance from a Swiss bank branch. And logs from Harridan's internal system showing exactly how they leveraged your property. "And what happens if we release it all?" I asked. "They scramble. They bury it. Maybe threaten a few reporters. But we have too much. We scatter it across the world, encrypted backups. If anything happens to us, the files go live. What happens to them?" Sean grinned. "They burn." Laura looked between us. "Then why wait?" "Because timing matters," I said. "We hit too early, they contain it. We wait, build pressure, we make it uncontainable." Sean nodded. "I have someone inside. A regulator. Honest. Rare. If we get this to her directly, she takes it to the Senate subcommittee. Harridan goes federal. And everyone tied to it, including April and Troy, goes under the microscope." "When?" 2 days. I stood. "Then we stay underground." 2 days. We don't move. We don't breathe. We spent the next hours organizing the files. Printing what needed printing. Encrypting drives. Sean taught Laura how to operate the dead switch upload in case anything happened to us. By the next morning, we were ready. Until the power cut. All lights in the tunnel blinked off. Generators failed. Only the laptop glowed, still open, still online. And then, the feed changed. Troy's chair empty. The room abandoned. On the screen, a message appeared. You thought you were watching him. And then, a second message. He was watching you. I turned toward Sean. His face had gone pale. Laura whispered. Grandpa, they found us again. The room was dead quiet except for the soft hum of the laptop screen still glowing with those words. He was watching you. My stomach dropped. Troy was never the mastermind. But he was a survivor. Manipulative. Charming when needed. And ruthless when threatened. If he flipped the table, it meant one thing. He wasn't trying to escape. He was trying to lure us out. Sean stood slowly, eyes scanning the safe house ceiling like he expected it to come crashing down. I encrypted everything, he muttered. There's no way he breached unless. Unless what? I snapped. He turned the laptop around. Unless the whole feed was pre-recorded. The timestamp in the corner off by 6 hours. He played it back again, frame by frame. Troy blinking. Shifting. Breathing. But the second time through, the repetition was unmistakable. A loop. They played us. Laura was trembling. You mean he's free? Yes, I said, voice low. And he knows exactly where we are. Sean ran to the gear locker, yanked open a panel behind the file cabinet. Inside, an escape hatch, barely big enough for a body, leading to a narrow maintenance tunnel. This leads to a drainage culvert, half a mile west, he said. Emergency use only. I looked at Laura. We're not waiting for them to knock. We grabbed the drives, the maps, the emergency rations. Everything else burned. Sean doused the evidence in accelerant, torched the cabinet, and shut the trapdoor behind us as we dropped one by one into darkness. The tunnel was tight, damp, filled with rusted pipes and the smell of old mold. It curved sharply and dipped low. We crawled. For 30 minutes. When we emerged, we were in the woods again, sunrise barely breaking through the trees. But we weren't alone. A single figure stood by the tree-line. April. She wore jeans, a jacket, and no makeup. She looked smaller. Not fragile. But exposed. You need to listen, she said before I could speak. I raised the revolver. She didn't flinch. I didn't know he'd take it this far, she said. But you're in real danger now, not from us. From them. Define them, Sean said. The people Troy owed. Harridan isn't just a group, they're a syndicate. They don't just erase problems, they absorb them. And once you're tagged, you don't get out. Then why are you here? I asked. She reached into her coat and pulled out a flash drive. This is from my private server. Troy doesn't know I backed it up. It's everything, the names, the payoffs, the orders. Including one I found this morning. She held up a piece of paper. My name. My date of death. Scheduled. 2 days from now. Just then, a distant crack echoed through the woods. A gunshot. April's shoulder jerked back, blood bloomed through her jacket. And from the ridge above us. A red laser dot settled on Laura's chest. Down. I shouted, slamming Laura to the ground as the red laser flickered out. Sean dove behind a tree, dragging April's limp body with him. Another shot cracked through the woods, splintered bark inches from my head. Whoever was up there wasn't spraying bullets. They were aiming. Laura was sobbing, curled under my jacket. Grandpa, was she? She's alive, I said, lying. But we have to move. We zigzagged through the trees, staying low. Another shot rang out, then another. Sean shouted something behind us, then silence. No time to stop. I pulled Laura deeper into the woods until we reached a creek. We dropped into the water, boots freezing, current pulling at our legs, but it masked our tracks. That was the point. 10 minutes later, we climbed out, soaked and shivering. Still alive. Still being hunted. We found a collapsed ranger station, half-burned, windows broken, but shelter nonetheless. I kicked open the door, helped Laura inside, and barricaded the entrance with a fallen beam. Only then did I let myself breathe. Laura was quiet now. Numb. I sat beside her and pulled out the flash drive April gave me before she was shot. Plugged it into the backup phone. The files opened instantly. Names. Dates. Coordinates. Bank transactions routed through fake charities and crypto wallets. And then the contracts. Harridan didn't just erase enemies. They hired them. Former intelligence agents. Disavowed military. Private killers. Men whose records were deleted long before the internet existed. And there, in the middle of it all, Troy's name. Multiple times. He'd signed off on more than just financial crimes. He'd coordinated removals. Approved losses. And then my name. Marked as a contained asset pending asset deletion. Asset. That's what I was to them. A number with a value. Until I became a threat. And the worst part? They had others. More families. More stolen identities. More quiet victims who never got to fight back. Laura sat beside me, wide-eyed, reading over my shoulder. They're monsters, she whispered. No, I said. They're businessmen. Monsters are honest. I copied the drive to a second source and slipped it into my boot. We were going to survive. We were going to expose it all. But first, we had to disappear again. Back on the satellite phone, I called Lee. He answered with urgency. You okay? Barely. We need an extraction. I've got a guy, private pilot. Remote airfield. I'll send the coordinates. But they're watching airports now. You'll only get one chance. We'll take it. He paused. There's one more thing. Your name just popped up again. Where? Interpol. What? You've been flagged. International warrant. Charges, financial terrorism, data theft, conspiracy. My stomach turned. Troy? No, Lee said. This came from inside Harridan. Someone higher. And then his voice dropped. Gary, there's a new directive attached to your file. What kind? The kind that doesn't involve court. Just then, the door to the ranger station creaked. Laura screamed. And a man stepped through. Not Harridan. Someone else. Someone I hadn't seen in 20 years. Hello, Gary, he said. You always said if the world turned dark, you'd call me. So. I came. His voice hit like a cold wind through my spine. Sean? I asked, half certain, half terrified. He stepped forward, face weathered, eyes calm. Gray stubble. Same crooked nose from a bar fight in Denver, 1992. Not the kid, he said with a dry smile. The original. My old war buddy. The man who taught me how to disappear and how to fight when disappearing failed. I heard you poked a very large beehive, he said, pulling off his damp coat. How? You left breadcrumbs. Encrypted, sure, but I recognize your signature. The way you label files. The file named October Burn? That was you. I chuckled despite myself. Laura looked between us, confused. You know him? This man once pulled me out of a burning truck with a busted leg and a smile, I said. Yeah, I know him. She nodded, then turned serious. We're out of time. They've got snipers. And they're in the system. Troy's not just part of it, he's selling people out. Sean took a breath, then reached into his jacket and pulled out a weathered notebook. Inside, names, contacts, escape routes, cash stashes. What's this? I asked. The old network, he said. Every one of us who disappeared but kept our ears open. We've been watching Harridan for years. Never had proof. Until now. He laid the plan out fast. We'd head south through the service trails, hit the airfield Lee mentioned. From there, fly private across state lines under a false registry, land near a contact who could get us in front of a whistleblower protection team. But the flash drive had to survive. Even if we didn't. Sean handed me a Kevlar pouch lined with anti-surveillance mesh. Whatever happens, this goes. Even if we don't. I nodded. We moved out before dawn. Laura rode with me on the back of a dirt bike Sean cached near the trailhead. He led on a quad. The roads were rough, the forest thick. But for 4 hours, no one followed. We were ghosts again. Just before we reached the last mile, my phone buzzed. 1 bar. 1 signal. 1 message. From April. It read. They found me. I didn't tell them anything. I swear. But they're coming for you. And they're not alone. Then, a second message came through. No number. Just coordinates. Exactly where we were headed. We stopped at the hilltop overlooking the airfield. Below, 2 black vans. And a man in a suit, holding a radio. Staring straight at us through binoculars. We dropped to the ground, engines off, hearts pounding. The man in the suit hadn't moved. He just kept staring through binoculars as if he knew we were there. Was it the phone? I whispered to Sean. Doesn't matter, he said. They're already set up. Laura crouched behind us, clutching the Kevlar pouch like a lifeline. Below, 2 black vans sat flanking the airstrip. No markings. But the silhouettes near them weren't hiding their posture, military, precise. Not goons. Operators. Sean pulled out a scope. 3 on the left. 2 on the right. And 1 in the trees behind us. Spotter. Probably a drone nearby too. We can't go back, I said. No, he agreed. We go through. He handed me a flashbang and a smoke canister. Diversion first. Then split and flank. You take Laura west, follow the red tape. It marks a shortcut to the southern fence. There's a weak spot near the drainage ditch. What about you? I'll say hello. Before I could argue, he was gone, slipping through the pines like mist. 30 seconds later, boom, a bright burst lit up the eastern edge of the field. Shouts. Scrambling. Gunmetal flashing in confusion. Smoke rolled in. I grabbed Laura's hand and we ran. Low. Fast. Breath caught in our throats. We slid down the muddy hill, reached the fence, found the red tape. Sean hadn't lied. There was a gap barely enough for 1 body. I shoved Laura through first, then tossed the pouch after her. She landed on the other side, muddy but safe. Just as I started to crawl through, a voice shouted. Walker! I froze. From behind me, footsteps. Then a familiar tone. Troy. I didn't want this, he yelled. They made me choose. I turned, halfway through the fence. He stood 10 yards away. Suit torn. Face flushed. No weapon in hand. They were going to kill April, he shouted. And the kids. And you helped them line up my name instead, I growled. I bought time. I didn't believe it. But something in his face. It wasn't all lies. Then, from the tree line. A shot. Troy gasped. A red blossom bloomed across his chest. He fell to his knees. Laura screamed. Behind him, a Harridan agent stepped out, rifle in hand. But before he could finish the job, Sean appeared from the left, tackled him hard into the mud. The gun clattered away. I crawled through the fence and yanked Laura up. We move now. I shouted. But her eyes were locked on Troy, bleeding in the dirt. Grandpa, he had the master key. He told me last year. He copied the company's root file. It's in his pocket. Laura. I'm not leaving it behind. Before I could stop her, she bolted back toward Troy. And above us, the sky filled with the whir of incoming rotor blades. A black chopper. Descending fast. Laura, get back here. I shouted, but she was already sprinting across the clearing toward Troy's body. The chopper descended like a hawk, matte black, no insignia, kicking up a storm of dust and pine needles. Its side hatch slid open mid-air. 2 men inside. One with a scope. The other with a rope. I dove through the fence again, heart thundering. Sean was still wrestling the Harridan agent in the dirt. Fists flying. Mud and blood blending together. Laura dropped to her knees beside Troy. His chest was rising. Barely. She dug into his jacket, found the inner pocket, yanked out a small titanium flash drive on a worn leather cord. Then she froze. Because Troy opened his eyes. Run, he croaked. Then the light left him. She backed away slowly, clutching the flash drive. The scope shooter in the chopper spotted her. Adjusted. Took aim. I raised the revolver and fired 2 shots. One hit metal, the other sparked against the windshield. The chopper wobbled, pulled upward. I sprinted to Laura, grabbed her hand, and we ran. Through the smoke, past Sean, who had the agent now unconscious beneath him. He nodded to us and followed. The southern fence. 20 feet. We were almost there. But the chopper spun around again. This time, it wasn't aiming to capture. It was aiming to kill. I shoved Laura toward Sean. Get her out. She screamed. No. But I turned back, fired again, 3 more shots into the rotors. Then the sky lit up. A rocket. From the ridge above us. It slammed into the side of the chopper. The explosion ripped the sky in half. The craft twisted, belching fire, and spun sideways into the treetops with a sound like God tearing paper. It disappeared in a thunderclap. Flames rose beyond the ridge. We didn't wait to watch it burn. Sean led us through the last fence, down a dry creek bed, and into a buried tunnel hidden behind a false rock wall. Inside, a Land Rover waited. Keys already in the ignition. We drove hard. No words. Just panting breath and scraped skin. Half an hour later, we reached the emergency airstrip, nothing but a gravel lane and a plane the size of a flying shoebox. Lee was there, arms crossed, wind whipping through his graying beard. You're late, he said. You're welcome, Sean muttered, climbing out. Laura handed me the titanium flash drive. It's all on here, she said. Troy called it the master key. Said it unlocks every transaction, every voice file, every server node tied to Harridan. I held it like it weighed 50 pounds. This wasn't just the kill switch. It was the truth. We boarded the plane. No one spoke as the engine roared and we lifted off. From the window, I saw the forest shrinking. The smoke rising. A war zone behind us. And maybe peace ahead. But halfway through the flight, Lee turned from his laptop. Guys, we've got a problem. He spun the screen around. And there, on a dark web forum. A live feed. Of us. Inside the plane. A message scrolled across the screen. We let you take the key. We want you to upload it. The real end doesn't begin until the truth is public. I stared at the screen. They want us to leak it? I asked, my voice barely audible over the engine hum. Lee nodded slowly, eyes narrowed. Looks like they've planned this deeper than we thought. If we go public, we don't just expose them, we trigger something. Sean cursed under his breath. Could be a failsafe. Digital lockdown. Or worse, disinformation storm to drown the real files. Laura looked at me. So what do we do? We can't sit on it. No, I said. We control the timing. And the framing. We don't just leak it, we launch a full-scale testimony. We don't feed the fire, they burn in daylight. Lee tapped the keyboard. I know a contact. High-level cybersecurity tribunal. If we land, I can get you in front of them within 12 hours. But we need to go dark. Total radio silence. No uploads until it's safe. Sean nodded. Good. That gives us a window. I slipped the titanium flash into a Faraday pouch. We had one shot left. But then the cockpit door opened. The pilot stepped out. Not our pilot. The man smiled, pulled back his jacket, and revealed a Harridan badge pinned to his chest. Time froze. The Harridan pilot blocked the only exit, hands calm, eyes scanning the room. We didn't come here to stop you, he said. We came to watch you finish. Sean lunged. But the man raised his hand, no weapon. Just a small device. Blinking red. Dead man's switch, he said. I fall, you fall. Plane drops. What do you want? I asked, standing between him and Laura. He smiled. I want to see what kind of man you really are, Gary. Will you die for the truth, or keep it in your pocket one more day? I stared at him. And then I did something no one expected. I sat down. Took out the flash drive. And held it up. You've already lost, I said. You want this public. So let's go all the way. Laura opened her laptop. Lee nodded grimly. We plugged it in. Sean looked at the pilot. When this hits the networks, you'll have no more control. The Harridan agent stepped back. We never had control. We only delayed the inevitable. Laura clicked upload. A second later, confirmation. The master key, every contract, every recording, every name live. Across 4 continents. It was over. Or beginning. The pilot walked back into the cockpit without a word. We landed 3 hours later. By then, news had already broken worldwide. Arrests began before we cleared the tarmac. April was safe. Troy's files ensured she wouldn't be buried with him. Laura was granted full immunity. Sean disappeared again. And me? I testified. Then vanished. Now I live where the air is thin, and the signals are weak. But sometimes, on quiet nights, I check the forums. And I see them. People fighting back. People like me. People like you. If you like this story, please like this video. Subscribe to the channel and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the right.